those UTSA days. What made you want to sign on to this project here?
Yeah, dating back to UTSA, Will trusted me in his room, hanging out in his room when I was the director of player personnel, and he had his first opportunity to coach receivers. So we built a great bond in that. And then when he transitioned into the OC role there at UTSA, I became the receiver coach. And we created a cool bond from a coaching standpoint. So I'm super excited for him being able to have his first opportunity to lead a program, especially in the SEC, and it just made sense at this time in my career to move forward with a guy that trusts me and I trust him, and it's a great opportunity.
What do you look forward to when you find a receiver? Like what prototype, what does a good receiver look like in your offense?
Yeah, a guy that plays with a ton of passion. Obviously receivers come in all shapes and sizes. We try to build that room kind of like a basketball team. So as you look out there, you see some big guys, you see some not so big guys, and some guys in between. But ultimately, we want a ton of speed on the perimeter. We want to be able to have the ability to take the top off the defense, but then we want to help in the run game and be able to be physical on the perimeter too. We're just talking as we left the field. Two things that we don't want to coach is energy and effort. So when I'm out looking for guys, I'm looking for guys who play with a ton of energy, have great effort, a lot of passion, and then the skills, we'll coach that as we go.
What's sort of like the theme of this group? Like, are they an athletic bunch? Are they a very energetic bunch? What's sort of the theme of the wide receiver group?
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag, right? We got guys coming from all over, and we're kind of piecing together what we want our culture to be in the room. Obviously, we want to complement the culture of the team, so we're working on that connection within the room, and then allowing them to create the culture that they want. So, we call ourselves the paper chasers, and ultimately, obviously, in this football environment, you can capitalize on your abilities on the field, but we're student athletes. We want to chase a degree as well. But really, we're talking about accountability. Again, playing fast and physical on the perimeter, and just really showing up in any way we can to be able to help our team win.
Coach Stein said that a lot of time spring ball has been a lot of good on good, one-on-ones type of thing. Who from your group has really shown out, whether it's a big player, just like you said, the energy and effort, who's really stood out?
Yeah, I hate to call out any one individual that might be getting me in trouble in the room. They'll be on my case. But as a group, I would say definitely different dudes have stepped up every day and shown they have the ability. Now, what we're working on in that room is the consistency, right? Like, this is a grind, right? I mean, the SEC is the best of the best. We want to create a room full of guys that show up every day with the same type of energy and effort and execution.
It did feel like receiver in that 2-week portal window was the position where there were a lot of twists and turns in what you all were trying to do. How did you feel like that all played out in the group you finally ended up with?
Yeah, I felt like I got baptized into Power 4 recruiting. I think they said we had 66 official visits within like a 12-day window, and I would say about a fifth of that was probably the receiver position. We had a lot of holes to fill. What it did was got me up to speed at what the expectation is for recruiting in this league and in this program. But also it allowed me to just meet a bunch of different guys and kind of decide who was the best fit for what we're trying to do moving forward. I feel like we came out of it with some really good players, right? Some guys that are looking for opportunities to grow, some guys that haven't had opportunities, and this may be the one they can capitalize on, and then some guys that just fit. So we're excited about the guys we brought in.
DJ was the one real piece that you all kept there. What have you seen from him on film last year to what he's doing this spring, and what's the next step for him?
Yeah, just like others in the room, he has tremendous upside. We had to recruit him too. You know what I mean? Like, I think that is the thing that gets lost in recruiting as a whole, retention. Like, it is just as important to recruit our own roster as it is to go out and find new players to add to it. So keeping DJ and all the guys that decided to stay was super important.
Speaking of recruiting, with your deep ties into Texas and Texas high school football and your family, how much can you lean into that state? Because there's obviously a lot of guys that come out of that state.
Yeah, I as a former high school coach in that state, it is really important to try to succeed in this venture as a college coach. I think The guys back in Texas that coach high school ball, they're cheering for me, and they're trying to aid me in my pursuit of having a great career as a college coach by sending me their best players. So those ties are really important. But most importantly, man, it's creating ties in new places for me. I spent most of my career in Texas, so being in this region, I'm getting a chance to visit a bunch of states within a 5 to 6 hour radius, and I'm making new connections. So the more connections we have, obviously, the better allotment of players we have to choose from to bring in to make our program successful.
You talked about the recruiting and the retention. Obviously, at a certain point, you started moving forward with what you thought would be your group, and then you got a late addition of Hardly Gilmore back to the roster. What has he brought to the room, and what are you excited about maybe seeing from him this season?
Yeah, man, Hardly is awesome. That dude loves football. And I can figure it out with people who love the game. So I think he's super grateful to be back a part of this program. He spent a lot of time in this city. I'm super excited to have him as a part of our group. And the passion I'm talking about that we want in the room, he plays with that relentlessly on the field. So I'm excited about his future. We're going to continue to grow him on and off the field, and good things are going to happen for Hardly.
We've seen a lot of receivers across the country make that jump from FCS or even Division II to this level in the portal. What does Shane Carr have to do? What's the challenges in that?
I think what's been great for Shane is to be able to get in with the strength and conditioning team, everything off the field, strength and conditioning, academics, nutrition. I think he's put on some good weight since he's been here. It's when you're in the portal, you're looking for pieces, and what he brings is a guy that has had production in the past. So he knows how to catch the ball. He knows how to make plays with the ball in his hand. Now we're teaching him how to play at this level, and he's taking on the challenge. So I'm excited about his future too.
How big was it to bring in a guy like Nick Anderson who's done it in the highest stakes sport? Obviously, it wasn't SEC when he was in Oklahoma, it was Big 12, but he got a little taste of the SEC last year. So what's it like to have a guy like that on your roster?
Nick's a pro. The way he carries himself, the ways he goes about his business, what he's doing is he's bringing the mental level of focus in that room up tremendously. And then, again, all these guys that are coming in from different places, they're wanting more. I think this is a great opportunity for not only Nick, but anybody who's come in to have an opportunity for more if they approach it the correct way.
Brock is a guy that Kaufman that went to Louisville, came back, he's back in his hometown.
Yep.
What does he add to that group?
Smart guy, really smart guy. Has some position flex. It's early, right? Again, we don't really have a depth chart, so we're mixing and matching and putting guys with different groups to see how they fit within the offense, within the scheme, trying to team them up with different quarterbacks to see where there's a relationship there. But Brock, as well as all the guys that we brought in, we're trying to really elevate their game mentally and physically. But Brock's tremendously smart, does some really, really good stuff, makes smart decisions. He's going to help us.
What's your early impressions of Kenny Minchie and working with your guys and trying to build that chemistry?
Yeah, I mean, he's as good as any guy I've been around. I think you see him in the building all the time. I think he always has a gang of quarterbacks with him wherever he's going. So whether it's Kenny or anybody else, I think we're going to be really good in that room. Obviously, with Will Stein and Joe Sloan leading the charge on the offense, the quarterback position is going to be elevated tremendously, with whoever's out there. But Kenny, he's done a really good job, being a great leader for that room in our team, our offense.
Darby's always going to have that distinction as the first high school recruit you guys got once you got here. That brings some pressure with it. What have you seen from them just in the first weeks as a young guy out there?
I don't think he feels any pressure. I think he feels a tremendous responsibility to do well. Just like all the freshmen, they've had some growing pains, right? The volume of offense that's been installed, the pace of play, things like that. But what I would say, Kenny and the other 3 or 4 freshmen that are here have done, since they're all relatively close in the dorm, they get up here together, they watch film together, they study together. It's kind of a little small accountability group that's going to help them in the long run.
Every position coach we've spoken about there, they talk about, there's no depth chart, they're working on consistency, but they're excited about the potential of their group. What about your group has you excited for what they can become during spring and going into fall?
Yeah, I like to think, I personally coach with a lot of passion, and I try to show the things or show as an example the emotion and passion I want them to play with. I think the hard coaching they've received, they responded really well to it. You know, the question I've asked them, hey, if I told you if you do this, you got a chance to make $1 million, would you do it? You know, it's a realistic question. You know, I could have said that 5 years ago, and the only $1 million they could have made was in the NFL. Now I can say that, and truly, they can really double their opportunity to create revenue for themselves if they just buy into what we're asking them to do. At the end of the day, man, like, you know, them playing well helps me, helps our team, helps Coach Stein, helps everybody in the building. So my goal is to encourage them the right way, to play the right way, so they can, you know, ultimately change their lives.
I was supposed to ask for someone who couldn't attend today. They wanted to know the origin story of East Side Joe.
Oh, Lord. Well, I'm from the east side of Houston. You know, I coached at Galena Park High School and North Shore High School, which are both in the Galena Park Independent School District in East Houston. I like to say that, you know, when I was younger, East Houston wasn't really talked about a ton, you know, in terms of sports. It was always North Houston or South Houston. And then North Shore, around like 96, David Amon got that program going, right? John Kay took over and kept it going. And our mantra just became the East Side. So when social media first got going, I took that as an opportunity to really push our kids at North Shore, and everything we tagged, it was East Side, East Side, East Side. So all the coaches in the coaching community in Houston, whenever they would see us, they go, "What's up, East Side?" You know. So as we move on, you know, all the guys that have had success from that program, you know, if you watch the coaches that have been there, when they have success, we just simply hashtag Eastside, put that on social media. So as we move, my friends that know me well, what's up, Eastside Joe? That's kind of how that goes. So I feel great, tremendous pride about the city that I'm from, the state that I'm from, all that stuff. But you know, I want to make sure I represent, you know, the East Side and the whole city of Houston really well wherever I go. So.
Everybody good? All right.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.